All right. How's everybody doing? Get started in just a minute. Let me get everything ready and we will jump right. Since we are doing Facebook ads, if somebody has a listing that is active that you would like me to demo, please put it in the chat. Just put the address and we will use it in our example today.
Hey, Joe, I have one, but I just got an accepted offer. If you want to use it, you can. You're muted.
I wasn't on the right screen. Yes, that's fine. As long as you don't mind, I may or may not hit run on it. I could always cancel, but it's just good for bringing the information in. But we'll get started in just a minute. Let's see. Actually, we're 2 after. I will get started and here we go. All right. Awesome. Thank you, D. Beaverbrook. Ooh, way up there north, right? That's North Ridgefield.
Yes.
Awesome.
Correct.
Nice area up there. I love it up there.
Yep.
Whenever anybody says, oh, that's too far north, I roll my eyes because it's like so.
Absolutely. It's access to everything up there.
You're close to the mall. You're close to Ridgefield. You're close to
84. Yeah. Exactly. Close to New York line. Yep.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Plus all the fun stuff you can do over there.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll get started.
I live there now. I live on the Danbury Ridgefield line.
Yeah. Yeah. How is the development going up there? Is it halted or are they still building?
They're still building and they raised the prices $100 grand.
Oh, wow.
Nuts. They're nuts. Well, that's toll. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that affect you at all or no?
It's affected resales. I just closed one here last week for a pretty good number. And actually they think they got a bargain now. They were whining before and now they're like, yay, we got a good deal.
It's so interesting because in other markets, you have to worry about builders doing the exact opposite with resale, right? Undercutting them. But I guess with this market, they know they can up the prices. So the resale is benefiting. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Let me share my screen and we'll dive in. And just to be clear, the email that went out today was on Facebook campaigns, correct?
It was on Conquer Command, timely topics to help you master command.
Yes.
That's interesting. My schedule says
that was at 1 o'clock, any topics, but I'm not.
Let me
I'll reread it. Hold on.
It just says 11 a.m. Conquer Command, timely topics to help you master command.
Okay.
Boom, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So they're probably just leaving out just for clarity's sake, the actual topic. And this topic is today on my schedule is Facebook ads, which we can delve into that. We can talk about conversion. The goal is to ultimately give you a takeaway that you can work on. So let me pull up. Let's dive into, and whoops, let me sign in. Let's dive into this. So we'll start. Who here has run Facebook ads? Who is running Facebook ads right now? Who wants to? What are your thoughts on that right now?
I'm running them.
Okay. And how's that going for you?
Well, I have a lot running because I have a lot of leads coming in from other sources. So I'm running Facebook ads and I just got conversation going with about 2 people out of quite a few ads, quite a few of those. And I mean, that's good. I think it's a long-term thing. What I'd like to figure out is after you run your Facebook ad, what follow-up besides neighborhood nurtures do people recommend?
Okay. So follow up on Facebook ads. Anything else? Awesome. So I'll start with that then, which is, I ran this class the other day, and we can circle back on that. If nobody has any objections, we can talk about converting internet leads from Facebook. Otherwise, we'll do the ads. So this is a class I ran the other day called Converting Internet Leads Using Command. And so for anybody here who's read the MREA, you know that the not met database, right? People you don't know should convert at a ratio of 50-1, right? So if you're farming a neighborhood, the MREA says over a long period and a big enough database, you will get a 50-1 conversion, right? And that's what those numbers are. Now, that may have changed a little bit. I know they're working on the MREA too, but as of right now, those are still the numbers we go by. That's about 2%, right? What we're seeing is internet leads. If you think about it, they are a not met database for the most part. Now, occasionally you'll have people come across who will be people you know, but for the most part, it's a not met database, which is converting what we see at 1 to 5%. Now, I've seen people get to 10%. With really aggressive long-term follow-up, as you referenced, Dee. But for the most part, for every 100 leads, you'll get 1 to 5 transactions. Now, we don't see this convert right at 100 leads, and you certainly don't see it at 50 leads, right? It takes a lot of leads to do it. So let's talk about what that means monetarily wise. The average lead that Keller Williams is seeing right now is about $2.12, right? So $2.12 per lead coming into your database. Now, if you are in a really hot market where everybody's looking, you may drive that number down versus up. So our area, we may actually be able to get a lower number on that. But what does that mean financially, what you have to commit to get the business? If you do the math, 1 out of 100 leads versus 5 out of 100 leads, it's going to cost you anywhere from $42 per closing to $212 per closing, right? If you just do out that math. So the point I like to make here is you can't run one ad, get 10 leads and expect to get a transaction out of it, right? I see many people run $10 worth of business. They say it doesn't work. They don't do the follow-up, and then they don't get any business out of it. Does that make sense? I'm just running the numbers here. So when we talk about internet leads and when we talk about internet lead conversion, who are we talking about and what are we talking about? And there's really 2 ways to look about this, right? And I say it's about starting a conversation. If a conversation has been started, right? If you call them and they pick up the phone and they say, yeah, I'm looking to do business, right? In real estate, we talk about doing the 8x8. For those of you who have been with Keller Williams for a long time, Dee, you can speak to this, the 8x8, we've talked about this forever. It's just 8 touches. It's following up with them with 8 reminders of who you are over the course of 8 weeks, right? So it's a postcard, a phone call, a handwritten note, whatever it is, you build a plan using a smart plan over the course of 8 weeks. Now, if the conversation hasn't been started, and that is if they don't respond to you yet, your job is to get them to respond, right? And so the 8x8 establishes mind share when the conversation's been started, or what we're ultimately referring to and is the 10 days of pain, or let's call it something a little less aggressive, an intense 2-week follow-up where your entire goal is to get them to respond to you, to get those internet leads to respond to you. So there were really 4 outcomes and kind of 5 outcomes. Somebody pointed out that there is a 5th outcome in this. One is that they'll do business with you and they're excited to do business with you. The second is that they'll do business with somebody and it may or may not be with you. You don't know yet. The third is they tell you to get lost, or they might use more colorful language. And the fourth is that they don't respond, or and slash it's bad information. You don't actually have their contact information. That's really the fifth possible outcome. So when you get an internet lead, the question is, how do we get them to respond? What do we get them to do? And there are really two parts to this, right? There's that intense follow-up on the first 10 days. And then there's, as what you had said, is what do you put them on after the fact? So first, let's talk about that first 10 days of intense follow-up and how we use command to do that. It's ultimately with smart plans, and we'll jump into that really quick. But what do we give them over the 10 days? So items of value. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a follow-up plan that offers them items of value, or tries to tickle them, or we bait the hook and we get them to bite. So list of similar properties, or a listing drip, right? Where again, if they don't respond, we just simply send them listings every single week, every single day, depending on what you think it is. Offer to show this weekend. A great script on that is, I have 2 available slots this weekend that I'm looking to fill, and would you like to go see properties? Free CMA offer. This is oftentimes internet leads are really sellers in disguise. And so what you're trying to do is get them to raise their hand and say they're a seller. So oftentimes what you'll say is, every so often somebody clicks on one of our listings because it's similar to theirs. Would you like us to price out your property? Again, find a better script than that. Mine's pretty poor, but it's along those lines. A relocation package offer. So oftentimes when we run our Facebook ads, we target New York, or we target an area we know people are moving to. So if you create like a 1-page PDF or a 5-page PDF that you can say, hey, are you interested in seeing our relocation package, where it talks about what it takes to move to Connecticut, what's interesting about living in Connecticut, whatever it is, you build a relocation package. Contest, free certificate. This one, I'm not sure. You got to be mindful on what you offer out because of RESPA. But, if you offer, maybe you give them the cost of an inspection back as a closing cost. Again, I would check with your broker, check with Rick to see if what we can do. But you say, oh, I have 2 free certificates for people who work with me on this. And you just make it dependent on them working with you. Again, check with Rick as far as what we can and can't do. And then something like a pre-qualification offer. I put Keller Mortgage 0+ here. Again, whether or not they use Keller Mortgage, or whether you use one of your other lenders, maybe there's something that your lender offers that they're not going to get anywhere else. And so if they work with you, they get access to this. Again, we're just baiting the hook. Then what we do is we put this into a plan. And again, we use smart plans to do this with day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, 10 days. It can be 2 weeks, whatever it is, where on each of the days you set up calls, emails, tasks to follow up with these leads over the course of 10 days. Now, if they respond to any of this, remember, our goal of this is to start the conversation. So if they go and respond, and let me do, let's show you here. Like, let's say on day 4, they respond to your email, right? You're not going to do day 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 anymore. Our whole goal in this is to get into conversation. So the second they respond and say, yeah, that sounds interesting, or yes, I'm thinking about buying, but not for 6 months, we turn this off and we switch them to a different plan depending on their response, right? So you might, if they're looking to go, like they're looking to buy right now, you might do your pre-qualification right on the phone as far as what they're looking for. Book them for the appointment. If they're looking in 6 months, you may hold off on that for 6 months and get permission to follow up with them. Again, the second they respond, you don't do any of these other days. You're done with these days, and you really are working to convert them at that point, right? Because you've started the conversation. Clear this. Whoops. Clear this screen. Clear all drawings. So I'm not going to go through this next slide because I do want to get into the how to do this in the smart plans. But I will provide a link to a sample 10 days of pain or follow-up plan that it goes through. And we'll switch over. I just want to get through this content real quick. So, like I just said, as soon as they respond, you choose a possible outcome, right? So if they want to do business, you set a follow-up date or set the appointment. If they're thinking about doing business and they want to interview you or they're not sure, set the appointment or put a follow-up date, right? And then put on a drip. If they tell you to get lost, my opinion on this is delete them from your database. Why waste your time? Or at least mark that they don't want to do business with you. But again, it's up to you. It's up to you how you handle this. I've heard people just put them on a drip. I've heard people just delete them. Again, it's up to you. What I don't want you to do is have hope on these. Usually internet leads, when they tell you to get lost, they're pretty serious about it. But I do know people who have converted them after 6 months to a year of just dripping. So it's up to you. And if they don't respond, put them on a drip and forget about them. And like I said, there's a fifth, which is they have bad contact information. I would just remove those from your database. No need to gunk that up if that's the case. Now, drips. Let's talk about some options, Dee. This is what you were talking about here. What do you do as far as drips go with what you do? So the first is the monthly or the biweekly neighborhood nurture, right? Those are just putting them on a neighborhood and putting them in there. Now, if they're looking in an area that is not covered by that, you could also set them up on a save search in the contact. And you can set save searches to be instant, daily, weekly, bi-weekly, or fortnightly, I guess is the correct term, every other week, or monthly. And you can do it based on neighborhood or zip code for the save searches. Now, if that's not the case and that's not good for them, then what I would do is actually use the MLS if at that point it doesn't work. Blast email once a month. And this is what I say, this one costs time, right? Which is all you would do is create a template for some kind of newsletter. Maybe you do a video where you talk about the market or what it takes to sell your home, and you just blast it out to your database once a month. And then you would also do it to them. You know, that's your free option, but it's going to cost you time. And then the third option is you pay somebody else to create that email for you, right? So whether it's an admin or maybe there's somebody, and I know there are a few people out there who will do emails for you and just create them, and you upload them into your command, and then you send them to people from command. So those are your options for the drips, and we can delve into that. So before we move on, which would you guys prefer to see? Would you like to see how to create the follow-up smart plan for the 10 days of pain and or find one in the library? Or would you prefer to do the look at what the drips are, how to build an email that you could blast out? What are your thoughts? Let's get some feedback here.
So I have a question
Sure.
on this. Why would we only use the commands to send out our email? I know the leads are coming in there, so why wouldn't we just use our Keller Williams email to just create and send our emails out from there and do a BCC? I'm just trying to understand, you know.
Sure, great question. And who is this? I don't see who's talking on the. Oh, you're muted.
It's Nicole.
Oh, Nicole.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. So the only issue I have with BCCs is it's very hard to manage when people don't want to talk to you anymore. So unsubscribes so now keep in mind, they're actually improving the unsubscribe system in Command. So the first is that if you have an internet lead and you get one on Monday and one on Friday, you're going to base what email you send to them based on when it joins, not based on once a week. So if we're talking about the follow-up, you're going to want, so the person who registers on Tuesday is going to get the first email on Tuesday, the second email on Wednesday, right? Versus the guy who registers on Friday is going to get the first email on Friday, the second email on Saturday. So if you wanted a series of emails to go out based on when they register, you're just doing a BCC email is not going to work. Now, as far as blast emails go, you can do that. You do want to be careful, because if that email gets marked as spam, then it doesn't matter if you blast, you BCC. You might have transactional emails that you're now sending out, which are going into people's spam folder because you used your Gmail to send blast emails, right? So for your monthly emails or your monthly newsletter, if you have a database of like 500 people and Gmail says, oh, okay, well, this person's just spamming people every single month and you get marked as spam, well, then nobody's getting your email, and you got to be mindful of that. So that'd be my answer to that. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I was just wondering how does Command not differentiate themselves from a spam email?
Yeah, that's a great, yeah. So it actually sends from and let me pop into here real quick. What it does is it actually sends from a unique email. And I don't know if I can show it to you in here, but what I can show you is this. And it's pretty common for things like MailChimp and other services to do this.
Right. Yes.
If I go into Command Mail and I click Manage, now I can't show you what the email is, but you see how this has a reply to email?
Yes.
Because it's not actually sending from this email, but when people reply, it's coming back to that email. So what it actually is it's like a random number at kwagent or kwmailer.com, so that if it does get spammed, it's not your actual email that is getting hit as spam.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. So let's go back to then smart plans. So with these leads, if you want to build the smart plans, this is where the smart plan editor comes in. So what you're ultimately going to do is you're going to go in here, and we can do two things. One is using this thing that I put here. And again, I'll give you a link to that at the end of class. You can simply create your own from scratch. So if I call this my 14-day Facebook follow-up, right? And I hit apply, I can now build this plan from scratch. And so it brings it in here. And I do a couple of things. One is the first day, let's say, I do an email, right? Maybe I want the first email to be a custom email. I don't want it to go out automatically. I don't always recommend that, but what you could do a task or whatever. So I can actually say, oh, first day is email. And I could say, thank you for your interest in our property, right? Now, I would be a little more detailed than that. I might even build this, if you're going to do a ad for a specific property, I might build a smart plan for that specific property that says, thank you for your interest in 123 Main Street, right? Now, what you do is once you figure out what day one is, maybe you also do an automated text, then you click set delay for a day. And then the next day, you just maybe send an email, right? And then the next day you do whatever. And then at the very end, when let's say you're 5 days in, then you put a task that says add to follow up plan based on outcome, right? And so what you're now doing is you're building a follow-up plan for those leads that will enable you to automate some of that follow-up so you don't have to think about it. Now, remember, if they respond to you, you do have to go in and manually turn this plan off. And the reason I say that is maybe one of your days, the email is, hey, am I doing a good job? Right? And that's a common email. I can show you in our list, like 4 days in after you're sending them stuff, you might say, am I sending you the right stuff, or do I need to change it to better get your response? Well, let's say the day before that, they actually responded to you and said, hey, that's great, I want to work with you. And then the next day you didn't stop this, and it sends an email that says, oh, thank you for, am I doing a good job? It might seem a little weird. So make sure, again, that you stop the plan once you get into conversation. Now, here's a cool thing that you can do. And let me go back to a different smart plan real quick. I'm going to discard these changes. And I'm going to go to this 10 days of pain that I had started the other day, and I'm going to edit it. One of the things that I can do, which is really cool, is I can add a trigger event. So I can go in here and I can say that I want the tag to be, so I had this listing at 2 Sheridan Street. So I add the tag 2 Sheridan Street lead. So now whenever a new lead comes into the database, I can add that tag and it will start them on this plan automatically. It'll tell me to call them. It'll automatically email them. It will do all of those things automatically the second that the tag is added. Now note, what this will not do is anybody who's already on this tag. So if I had 5 leads on this tag already, it's not going to add them at this point. It's going to only add anybody I add the tag to new moving forward. So then I do that. I choose the trigger. And when the lead comes in, the only thing I need to do to get it to go is add that tag to it. And so again, if I built a smart plan or a follow-up plan specifically for a property, like in this case, 2 Sheridan Street, so maybe it would, one of the follow-up emails would be, hey, this condo complex is not for everybody. Would you consider these condo complexes instead? And then provide a list of other things. Well, that's built specifically for this thing. And I only had to do that once, edit the smart plan once. And now any lead for the entire time I have it listed is going to get, I can just add to that smart plan. I click choose trigger, and now all I do is add them to that. Now, I will say that if you don't want to build it from scratch, what you can do is you can go to the Keller Williams library over here and pull it in. So if I look for Facebook, I'll find a Facebook follow-up plan, Facebook plan. And here's my thought on this. Look at how many touches it is. In this case, it's a 9-day plan with 7 touches. This is a 23-day plan with 5 touches. Again, they're different. I can pull that in, but what I would do is always make sure that you look at what it says. So I'm gonna click on this, add smart plan and download. Warning, any agent smart plan you pull in, which is here, you're going to want to go and edit because it might have agent information in there that you're going to have to change. Now, in this case, Robert is from Hawaii. I'm familiar with him. And that's why I used his plan. He starts with Aloha. That does not make sense for our area. So never just pull in a smart plan and not go through and edit it. See, he also puts here, he says Maui, insert link here, right? He does all this stuff that if you didn't go in and edit this, you're now all of a sudden going to be sending somebody the wrong information. Also note is you see how this contact first name, contact last name is in blue? These are merge tags, which you can add over with this little F button over here. Sometimes agents will put what looks like a merge tag, like insert link here, or they'll write contact first name. And if you don't change it, then you're going to be sending people things that just says insert link here, and then you look silly. So always make sure you go in and edit what is put here. There's a lot. See, look, agent signature. This is not a merge tag. You need to go and edit this and put it in there yourself. So it is never just grab it and go with these smart plans. You have to go in and edit it to make sure it's the right thing. But this is his follow-up plan. Now, again, once you're done and once the follow-up plan's over, I always recommend adding one task at the end. That is, just so you remember, and Dee, to your point, is the task name is add to nurture plan. And then what you get to do is decide at that point what that plan is, whether it's a monthly neighborhood nurture, which is a smart plan, or sending them an email, once a month based on what that is. And that's basically that. So we're right at time. So any questions? I know we were a little bit different of a topic than I thought, so I hope this was useful, but it seemed to be what people were interested in. So any questions now?
Yeah, so I have a question. After you do that plan, what do you recommend to continue after that? Because I have like 200 or whatever, and I went through that, and some opted out and I got rid of them. I deleted them. And then, I have a couple that answered or said something. And then what do you recommend besides the neighborhood nurture? Anything?
Yeah, so if you do, you could, depending on if you think you have real phone number and information, a quarterly call, or a whatever, just to see if you could reach them by phone is not a bad idea. Especially if they're those ones that raised their hand and said, I'm interested, I'm just not sure I'm ready yet. The ones that are really cold, monthly neighborhood nurtures, absolutely. And if you do any kind of monthly email that you create, like to your database, I would add them to that plan as well. So for example, when we used to do the Playhouse tickets, that was a good one to do. Right. We don't quite have that right now, but like I said, if you do a video email, which is essentially, and let me go here. Let me go to designs. And if I create, oops, that was not designs. Designs. So if I go in here and let's see this, I started a market update email, even though I'm not using it. But what I did, you see here, I dragged in the video module here.
Yeah.
So I could just create a monthly video email where I spend, and I wouldn't talk for more than a minute on these, right? 2 minutes tops, but really try to be it under a minute. Now, what you do is you would have to host this somewhere else. So like you'd upload it to a YouTube channel or something where you'd have it there. And then what you would do is just put an image that as a screen capture, right? So if you think about when the video's paused, I would grab that image. And then I would just send this out once a month with a little blurb about this. And it doesn't have to be a market update video always. It can be, but it could be how to win in multiple offer situations. It could be, something like that, where it's information. Again, it's the hook. Now, the reason why I like market update videos is you could use those for leads and for your database, but that doesn't mean that has to always be the case. The other thing is you can put 2 videos in here. So if I wanted to do a second video that's more on, a tip on whatever, so I could do them both. People tend not to get, the further down the pages, they tend not to read it. So I wouldn't put too much in the email. But if you did a market update video and like a how to win in multiple offers or something similar, and just sent that out once a month, I think those are probably really good ideas that you can make work.
So I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I have trouble uploading I just got my first video testimonial, and I'm having trouble uploading to YouTube and also my videos of my properties uploading to YouTube. So I would love to have a class on how to manage videos and getting them to YouTube and getting them on here and the length and all that. Because some of them are a bit long.
Yeah, that can be tough. Let me, why don't you book a one-on-one D with me and we can go over that specifically. I don't know if Rick is designing the schedule, so I don't know what we have. I got to look at what the schedule upcoming is. But yeah, definitely mention to him if you'd like that on the calendar. Otherwise, you could book a
I'll send him an
one-on-one.
email. Okay. I
one-on-one
mean,
with
does
me.
anybody else need that or like that idea or need